Hello friends, if you're new, welcome to my channel. Why don't you go down, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any episodes. For my fans and subscribers, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Today's topic, the Hartford Witch Panic of 1662 to 1663. Not much else I need to say. Let's get on with the video. The Connecticut colony executed 11 of the 34 people accused of witchcraft. This ratio makes the Connecticut witch hysteria, not the Salem witch trials, the deadliest witch hysteria in the New World. Puritans viewed magic as extremely powerful and dangerous, and they were convinced that people were in league with the devil and using magic against them. Connecticut began executing witches in 1647, and accusations continued into the 1720s, but the hysteria can be divided into two periods: the Hartford witch hysteria of 1662 to 1663, and the Fairfield witch panic in 1692. In the 1660s, Connecticut's fate was a bit up in the air. In England, Oliver Cromwell re-established King Charles II on the throne, and it seemed that Connecticut would not be established as an independent colony. Up until that point, it had been an extension of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Some were anxious for Connecticut to get a charter, and were fighting with leaders in New Haven who did not want to swear allegiance to Charles. Due to this, several villages around New Haven lobbied to leave its jurisdiction to become part of the Hartford colony. At the same time, Hartford had trouble of its own. Disagreement between Hartford church elders and Reverend Stone caused some leading families of the area to move to Hadley, Massachusetts. The voice of reason, John Winthrop Jr., was absent because he was on his way to England to negotiate a charter for Connecticut. So as you can see, these panics do not happen in a vacuum. They are most closely linked to the political climate, although they do have links to other types of things. You can most closely see the political climate in the Satanic Panic. Elizabeth Kelly's death only made things worse. According to her parents, Elizabeth enjoyed good health until Judith Ayres gave her broth. Shortly thereafter, Elizabeth started suffering stomach cramps. Now, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but it sounds like it was maybe food poisoning. If you have experience with this, please leave it down in the comments. But to me at least, it sounds most probable that it was food poisoning, because at this point in time, food poisoning was a very big problem. Elizabeth's parents' testimonies were recorded for posterity. According to her father, it wasn't until she'd fallen asleep that she became most agitated. It sounds to me, as someone who's been trained in psychology, that this was simply sleep paralysis, although no one at the time had ever heard of this ailment. Sleep paralysis is basically a state in which the brain is half awake and half asleep. In this condition, people can suffer hallucinations and a feeling of being smothered, both of which Elizabeth's father said she reported. Court records report that her father said she died around midnight. Shortly after her death, the magistrates examined the body, noting that a stench arose from the body. Her body was not stiff, and the back of her arms were black and blue. Clearly, they did not know about rigor mortis or livor mortis. John Kelly refused to let his daughter be interred until they found out if witchcraft was the cause of death. This was problematic, however, because Winthrop was the town physician, and he was in England, meaning they had no professional opinion. In his absence, Guildford physician Brian Rossiter performed an autopsy 5 days after she died. It was the first complete autopsy performed in Connecticut and the first autopsy in the New World used in a witchcraft trial. Although it was a full autopsy, unfortunately, it was not an informed autopsy. Rossiter labeled natural occurrences for an almost week-old corpse as preternatural features. Even with this finding, an aggressive prosecutor, Reverend Stone, the indictment took over a month. At the trial, 2 of her neighbors, Samuel and Ann Barr, told a story that Ayres had told them. Supposedly, she said that a young man had come to court her when she lived in London, but when she met him, she noticed he had cloven hooves instead of feet. She then broke off her date with him. This was considered quote-unquote evidence that she had prior contact with a devil-like creature and only made Ayres look more guilty. So did the fact that her husband had been convicted for stealing. Not sure what her husband has anything to do with her, but anyway. Judith Ayres broke out of jail with the help of friends and fled to Rhode Island with her husband. They left behind everything, including 2 young sons. Although Ayres' trial was the most dramatic, it wasn't the end. During the Hartford Panic, 11 were accused and 4 were executed for witchcraft. More than 300 years after Elizabeth's death, then Connecticut Chief Medical Examiner H. Wayne Carver II affirmed that Rossiter's findings were normal for a 5-day-old corpse. He concluded that her cause of death was most likely a combination of pneumonia and sepsis. Okay, so I was wrong, but it was still natural causes. Accusations and Trials continued into the early 18th century, but Mary Barnes's execution in January of 1663 was the last in Connecticut. It is likely that Mary was singled out by another accused witch. She was probably also singled out because she was illiterate and a servant. Although only 4 people in Hartford were condemned to death for the crime of witchcraft, 11 people in all were put to death in Connecticut. So where did the other 7 people come from? Hartford was just the biggest. There is another one, Fairfield, but no one was ever executed in Fairfield. The other 7 people actually came from different places within Connecticut. So the bulk of the executed came from Hartford, but the rest of them came from different areas within the colony of Connecticut. If you would like to look up the Fairfield Witch Panic, it began in 1692. Also of note, Connecticut did not start executing witches until 1643. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, PayPal, and website links are in the description, along with the source that I used for this episode. If you wish to contact me, Twitter is the best way, followed by email. Please leave comments in the comment section. I love hearing from you, and it also triggers the YouTube algorithm. Also, please remember that I choose my comment of the week for my Saturday live streams from the edited videos. So if you want in the pool, please comment on an edited video. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, stay safe and goodbye.